Hey, welcome to Tuesday, and hey, glad you're here. Come on into my little world for just a moment. You probably have heard the phrase. If you ever watched The Wizard of Oz, you remember that Dorothy, speaking to her little dog Toto, said, "I've got a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto." It's a phrase that's come to mean we found ourselves in circumstances in which we were unprepared, uncomfortable, a little bit uncertain. I think we've all been there at one time or another, haven't we? It's not something that we cherish, and yet it's probably, if we're honest, where we need to be. I was thinking about a song the other day, and it came up, and I guess because I came across it along the way. It's a song from the 1970s in the group Three Dog Night. Pieces of April. The thing that struck me was in looking at it and listening to it, there were a lot of comments about what was the meaning of the song. I listened to the words again, and I thought, it seems pretty plain to me. But there were debates and rolling comments about it. But it was very simple when it comes to me. Let me read the words to you. April gave us springtime and the promise of the flowers, and the feeling that we both shared and the love we called ours. We had no time for sadness, that's a road we each had crossed. We were living a time meant for us, and even when it would rain, we would laugh it off. I've got pieces of April. I keep them in a memory bouquet. I've got pieces of April, but it's a morning in May. Wherever we find ourselves, I think we recognize we've come at some distance, some expense, some experience to get to where we are. We've lived through certain days and certain opportunities. And we realize here is where we are. Dorothy awakens and she recognizes, I'm not at home anymore. Of course, we know it's all basically a dream sequence, but that's just the story. But the way it unfolds for us, we recognize we're not where we were. We are where we are. And maybe things where we are is a little bit different. Maybe things where we are is a little bit uncomfortable. When we feel that sense of uncertainty, we often long for yesterday. There was a fellow by the name of R.C. Moss. I didn't get to know him. I knew both of his sons, and they were older men by the time I knew them. But they talked about their father, and other people I knew talked about him because he had been a part of the church where we were for quite some time. He had been a very successful cotton buyer going back to the 1930s and 40s, I guess, perhaps. But by the time I came along, he was more of just a name that people remembered fondly. But the thing that struck out about me was not his ability to make money, but that his thoughts about life. For he had been a leader in the church, and there came a point in his life he said, I'm not going to do this anymore, and he stepped aside. He said, it's time for younger men to take my place. For as his son recounted to me, he said that there comes a certain point in life in which we're no longer looking forward, but we're only looking back. And he said, and I've come to that point in my life. Frankly, he was about 75 years of age. I know people beyond those years that are still looking forward, and people that haven't reached that point that are only looking backward. I think sometimes we look back to yesterday and we fondly look at it as if it is the utopia of life. And we look at today and we say how terrible things are today. We're wrong on both accounts, I think. But the fact is we have lived the past, and it is our experience. And what it has done for us brings us to where we are. I think that's what the song that Three Dog Night was singing was saying. Yes, in my heart and my memory, I've still got those beautiful pieces of April, the wonderful things that came with the springtime, the love we shared, whatever it might have been. But where I am is in today, and in the case of the song, but it's a morning in May. We can't go back to the past and relive it. We can't undo it. We can't change it. It is what it was. And it was what it was. So we can think about it. We can undermine the negatives and only think about the positives. Or we can do just the opposite and forget about the positives and only think about the negatives. But the fact is, it is still our past. As I've said before, we need to learn from it, draw from it, use it. Recognize what it means to us today. There's no doubt about it. But I didn't come here to preach to you about it. I came here for us to recognize the wonder of today. You know, the Apostle Paul wrote as he was bringing about Christianity to a world that had so much history and so much past to it, and especially to his national Jewish friends and family. He was saying, you know, we had something, and it's what helped bring us to where we are, and we need to realize where we are. He put it this way: therefore the law was our tutor to bring us to Christ, that we might be justified by faith. But after faith has come, we are no longer under a tutor. That's Galatians 3:24 and 25. He's saying, yes, that was our past, and we draw from it. We learn from it. It taught us a lot of things. But we are still where we are, and we need to live today. When Dorothy recognized she wasn't in Kansas anymore, she had to make do with where she was and learn from the experiences she found in that story. And maybe R.C. Moss has a point for us. We can't go back to yesterday. So if we're only looking backward, we have no value in the present. It's time to move forward. It doesn't really matter how old we are, whether we're 8 or 80 or much beyond. We're still in today, and we need to see today, and we need to see the future. Oh, sure, we'll still tell stories about yesterday. We'll still visit the old-time places. We'll still be nostalgic about it, if you want to call it that. But we still got to live today, don't we? You know what I'm saying. Let that be our schoolmaster. Let that be our tutor. Let that be our pieces of April. And let's make sure we're awakening today. I think we'll all be happy we did. Hey, thanks for being with me today. I hope it's a great day for you. I hope it's a day of moving forward. I hope it's a day of great blessing, that you will be blessed and you'll be a blessing to others. And we'll share some more things a little further down the road.